If you are someone who feels a little bit unstable where you are right now in your life, in your business, in your career, in your relationships, I'm here to tell you now. It's just a simple misalignment. Everybody talks about alignment. They have been since the New Age terms came around, since personal development deeply evolved. But I'm going to tell you exactly what it truly means, especially if you look at scriptures. I'm Kaur Evans. I'm the founder of the DIAEQ, and my purpose is to deliver these messages for the women who are struggling with spiritual noise, with emotional interference, and start creating a life led by the Father through His Word, His will, and His way. Welcome to episode 4, where I'm going to tell you exactly why. One minute you feel stable, and then the next day you are flipping your emotions. That term saying it's a flipping problem. Have you heard of it? It's a term used very much here in the UK. And I'm going to show you exactly what that means, the spiritual mechanics behind the flip, why your emotions keep hijacking your instructions, and most importantly, the kind of stability that you ought to be building that's not going to be dependent on the mood you wake up. It's not going to be dependent on the mood you wake up with. You know that term when people say, oh, it's just one of them days. Now, if you look at the emotional meaning behind that day, it's you wake up in the morning, you stub your toe, you missed your alarm, you're late for work, you ripped your tights, you forgot your breakfast, you missed your bus. It's when things don't go to plan as you set in your head for them to actually be. And so you go, oh, it's just one of them days. Everything's going wrong for me. Let me tell you right now, that's got nothing to do with the day. Why are you, why are you dismantling your day before it's even started? Is that alignment? Oh, but it's just how I am. It's just my life. I'm so fed up. I'm so this. Okay, great. I totally understand and respect that. But you cannot blame the day for how you feel. You are responsible for your emotions. You are responsible for your behavior, and you're most importantly responsible for your reactions. When we're looking at our emotions, what tends to happen is one minute we can be spiritually aligned, where everything feels as peace. It's like nothing can distract you, deter you. You're floating on air, and you just have the most perfect day ever. But then other days you're going to feel like someone is like knocking on your door saying, wait, wait, let me in, let me in. And you're just like, oh, I can't handle this noise right now. And what's happened, it's not that you've lost your message, you've lost your meaning, or you're having one of those days. What's actually happening is you've actually lost the grip on your steering wheel. You've lost the grip on your steering wheel for that day because you're allowing your emotions to get the better of you. You've gone from spiritual alignment to emotional flipping. You've gone from spiritually attuned to emotional chaos. You've gone from alignment to misalignment. Alignment is when your head is clear and calm, not empty, calm. When your heart is full of love and passion and nothing can break you, and your spirit can feel it. One, two, three. Alignment, spiritual alignment. So, what I want you to do is, I want you to imagine that your internal governance, your internal system is like a thermostat, right? I want you to imagine you are in this like sanctuary and it's like 72 degrees and you're sitting there and the temperature says inside, oh, this feels great. This feels like so much peace. I am warm. I am love. I am peace. I am joy. Of all these things, and nothing can take me off a pedestal. You're not too high, you're not too low. You are at this aligned level of spiritual purity. This is where you make your best decisions. This is where everything seems to go to plan. This is where your creativity flows. This is where you're nurturing. This is where you hold healthy boundaries. This is where, it's like being on a beach in the middle of nowhere and you're just like, this is life. That's your internal thermostat. Okay. But now let's say, for example, there's a cloud comes over you and all of a sudden it starts to rain. and your thermostat begins to drop. It's getting cold. And it starts to get a little bit windy. Next thing you know, you have to wrap up yourself. Your internal thermostat's gone cold, affected by the outside winds, by the outside temperature, by the outside experiences. And so the weather has affected your emotional mood. And because you've gone from peace and alignment to sad and down, your emotions have flipped because you've allowed the outside world to affect you inside. Is that not a great analogy? I just don't even know what else to say. But that's exactly how you've got to see it. And that's what I mean when I say if you let the outside weather dictate your inside temperature, your governed self, your spirit, aka the thermostat, is going to be governed by your atmosphere, which is the wind. And if you allow that to happen, you're not going to be making wise decisions. You're going to feel like you've lost your calling. You're going to feel like you've lost the grip of your steering wheel. It's not your fault, right? I'm not here to blame you. I'm just here to raise awareness into what's going on in your life right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you exactly the difference between spiritual alignment and having an emotional flip. That flipping problem, I can't help but laugh. That flipping problem, how did it get there? Well, you allowed your emotions to flip based on the situation from outside of you. That's why one minute you could be waking up feeling on top of the world, the next day your entire life feels like it's been dictated because of your mood, because of the outside experiences. But when you are with the Father, you don't allow outside to deter you. When you're with the Father, you don't allow experiences to prevent you from reaching to the goals that you want. Look, you're not going to feel happy and content every single day. This is not Disneyland, right? And we all know what's going on around there. This is not about that. This is about making sure that you are stable and that you are calm. And most importantly, you are in alignment. So I'm going to share with you 3 pointers. Number one, stability versus willpower. When you are stable, that's where you have your promise from God. This is not a result from your effort, and it's not from you forcing yourself. I've got to do it, I've got to do it. I've got the willpower, I need to make it done. It's about being calm with yourself, no matter where you are. I, for example, have taken a very long time to build my DIAEQ entire diagnostic system, even the program and even the YouTube program. That ended up being developed pretty fast, and I had to slow back down again because I wanted to make sure that I felt stable emotionally, and most importantly that I'm not forcing myself to do something just because someone says I have to get it done by a certain day. It's about having that groundedness that God's given you, because remember, this is not about your timeline, it's about the timeline that God's given you. And when you stop trying to will yourself into being calm and you start looking at where your order has broken down, you avoid making wild mistakes that you later on regret. Obviously, you can make little, changes and stuff. For example, my main high paid diagnostic tool, it's a high end level. And then I was like, oh, let me create another one. Did I create another one because I wanted to make another one? No, I wanted it to create an experience, but then I made it for free. And then I changed my mind and I said, no, actually, do you know what? This has to have a little bit more support in here. Needs a little bit more guidance in, a little bit more clarity. So, do you know what? I'm going to raise the price on this and then I'm going to add a few extra bits in. That's decision making by learning through taking action without going, oh, I've messed up. I need to start again. You are not here to constantly keep starting, stopping, starting, stopping, starting. It's not about forcing yourself, which leads me to point number two, the shame spiral. Every time you do something and then all of a sudden you have a reactive response, you feel shame because that's what the emotional flip does. When you spiral, you feel like you're a failure. You feel like everything is going wrong. You feel like it's your fault, but it's not your fault. The Father's not sitting up there saying, be hard on yourself. He didn't damn you with condemnation. He wants you to be convicted in his authority. And so what tends to happen is people begin to overwork to compensate the shame. And so that's where the guilt comes through. And that's where the wallow comes through. And then the sadness comes through. And then the anger comes through. But we're not born to have these emotions dictate our presence here on this earth. And so when you try to push harder, when you try to make things work, when you try to use logic over understanding and surrendering it, it becomes exhausting and it triggers you. And you're like, oh, I just want to go to sleep. And so this leads me to point number three. You feel hijacked. Who loves that series? I love that series. I haven't even watched season 2 yet, but I love it. You emotional flipping happens when you, the passenger, are hijacked by an emotion and the emotion ends up jumping into the driver's seat and takes over. And you're sitting there going, well, I'm supposed to be landing here at X amount and it's just not happening right now. And I really don't know what to do. And I feel kind of scared. And I'm not quite sure what I'm supposed to do because you allowed someone else to take control. You allowed the emotion to take control over you. So when people talk about emotional intelligence, it's about being really wise with discernment on how you master your emotions without them hijacking you, without them forcing you to take action, and most importantly, without you feeling any negative emotions. We're not here to not feel in negative emotions. We're here to understand how we can hold ourselves in moments of chaos when emotions flip us and affect us and then cause us to react. And when we reach those situations, we have to understand, right, what is it that I need to be doing? So I'm going to share a little story with you. I was on my Sabbath meeting this weekend, and something was shared from the Bible, and I had never heard it before. Now, naturally, we as people repeat things to ensure that we've heard it correctly. And so I was told you're learning academically, which basically means you're learning to remember, which is what we are taught at school. So it's no one's fault. That's how we are all taught, right? But when you're reading scriptures and when you are reading scriptures and you are understanding the power of the word, it's not about trying to logically understand it because that's not spiritual attunement. You have to understand it with spirit. Now, as soon as he said that and he began to allow my spirit to understand what he was saying, I burst into tears. I burst into tears. Now, as soon as I started crying, I finished the meeting, my whole emotional mood went chaotic. I flipped. So my emotions flipped. My emotions had flipped. And then I was like, right, I understand I'm in a very uncomfortable situation right now. I am feeling emotional. Told everyone I'm not in a good place right now. I just feel quite emotional. There's something I don't understand, and I feel quite sensitive. Like I'm not labeling myself, but yeah, I was feeling sensitive. So then I left it for a couple of days, and all of a sudden I heard obsession. I was like, oh, there it is. I have an obsession of trying to get everything right. So instead of me forcing and taking action to try and avoid it, to brush it under the carpet or taking it out on someone else, I took a couple of days to calm myself, to not allow this emotion to hijack my well-being because I do have things to do, but I don't want it to be dragged out into other people's lives. That's what a true leader does. You don't pass it on to anybody else. Because if you look in scripture, in Isaiah chapter 26, verse 3, it says, he will keep him in perfect peace whose mind is stayed on him. It doesn't say he's going to keep you in peace when the sales are up. It doesn't say he's going to keep you in peace when all of a sudden you're having a perfect day. He's going to keep you in peace no matter what the day. Because your peace will be anchored when your mind is stayed on the Father. When your mind is stayed on the Father, there is no emotional hijacks. There is no shame. There is only peace. And that's what it basically means when you are flipping your emotions from one to another. And the goal is to allow it to not control your entire life. Because flipping is a sign of disorder. It's not a weakness. It's not a fault. It's not a flaw. It's just a sign of disorder. And the Father right now wants to restore stability into every person by restoring order. Restoring order is coming back to the instruction that He's given you. Before the wind blew, before the clouds came, before people's opinions came, it's time for the flipping problem to stop. I find that so funny. So, when you are looking at signs for the flipping to end, you don't have off days, you don't have bad days. You realize it's just the weather. It's okay, it's going to pass. And that you can seek comfort in the word in those moments. And it's also not a final verdict because you're alive and you're breathing and you move with consistency even when others find it intimidating. How did that land for you today? Share your comments below. Feel free to share this video with whoever needs to hear this today. Because suffering with spiritual emotional whiplash is going to keep blocking you from following the Father's will. And most importantly, it's going to keep you stuck and stagnant. And I don't want that for you, and neither does He. So this is my invitation for you to take the mini diagnostic, the precise mini DIAEQ. This is a diagnostic that's going to reveal the exact emotional pattern that is interfering with your ability to build in alignment to the Father's will. Because the emotional experiences that you could be currently going through have left a door open and it's time to close it. And it's time for you to walk into the direction that you're supposed to be going through. So the link is below. And I'm going to see you next week for episode 5.